Welcome to Kicking Things Off for your in-person class delivery brought to you by Microsoft Learning. I'm Leanne McManus. In this video, we're going to cover two specific areas to help you set the stage for your class from the onset: introductions and the utilization of icebreakers. It's common for instructors to welcome their students one by one before the kickoff of class even begins. Once the class is in place, however, you'll want to kick off the class displaying your own cadence, temperament, your charisma, and ultimately defining the culture to be set forth in the class. It's important that the class start on steady footing. Now, as the instructor, you're going to need to focus on providing a welcoming environment, which ultimately will help support a foundation of this credibility and trust you're trying to build. Here are a few simple areas to focus on when giving your introduction to the class. Provide a brief introduction of yourself, give specific qualifications for that specific class, have a plan and follow your plan, meaning stay within your own guardrails. Here are some warning signs you'd want to think about as well when giving your introduction. Be aware of how long you're talking, specifically about yourself. If you're talking too long in general, you can infringe on the allocated time for other topics, but talking too long about yourself can make you look like you might be egocentric or even come across as disorganized. You always want to focus on being as concise as possible. I've found over my years of training that showing over telling helps my classroom experience shine here. And lastly, there's no need to oversell. You don't need to oversell the class, they're already there, or yourself. It's okay to be excited and be a champion, but be careful not to come across as patting yourself on the back. Remember, the audience already assumes you're the expert because you're the instructor. Now it's time to introduce the class or session. Imagine boarding a plane and hearing the announcement of the destination you're about to embark. Being in the right class is no different. Verify that everyone who is in the registration system is in attendance in the class. And lastly, you always want to verify that the computers or other resources that the students have are not only in working order but accessible as they should be. Never want to overlook housekeeping tips as well. Guarantee you one thing: if you do not pay attention to housekeeping tips, these individual items can derail your session. Here's a list of common topics to cover with housekeeping. If you have specific rules about the cell phone and email usage, make sure you point this out to the class now, and don't forget to ask for other questions. Starting with the daily schedule will give everyone the same idea of how the class is going to run, what time the breaks and lunch are, and the other items are of course important to the students as well. Beginning your class with an icebreaker will allow you to add levity to the room. People get to know one another, and this is a terrific time to set the culture for your class. Icebreakers level the playing field so everyone is comfortable in your class. For an icebreaker, you'll want to derive a communication map, which is based on the items related to this specific class. I call this a communication map because I find it helpful to draw out in front of the class what the class layout is and who is sitting where. Use what fits just means to match the right icebreaker to your class size, your class length, the appropriate topic, etc. Here are some ideas of things you're going to want to capture from the audience with your icebreaker. Who are the students? What are their names? Where are they from? Interesting facts. What are their roles currently? And then what brings them to this specific class? Why are they here to begin with? And then this item ties directly to the communication map. Where are they actually sitting in the room? And what goes nicely with this type of class ties back into the choosing the proper icebreaker for this specific class and that particular audience. Other things to keep in mind are: make sure you're being agile in your responses. In other words, if you ask a question and they don't have any experience with what you've asked, be okay, ask another question to allow them to answer. It's more about getting to know the students than it is about following the rules of the game. And it's really meant to focus on providing a level playing field so that everyone in the classroom is comfortable, welcomed, and equal. This is particularly helpful when you have the same group of people from an organization with different roles. Here are a few icebreaker hits I've used over the years. What is your favorite or even your first, and then fill in the blank? If you could choose just one, let's say destination, why would you choose that? Tell us your favorite, let's say childhood memory. The picnic game basically goes from the first person to the last person, where each person gives their name, such as I'm Leanne and I'm going to bring lettuce to the picnic. As you go through, everybody gives their announcement and repeats back whoever's one in front of them. So whoever goes last in that introduction has to recite everybody in the room. And then another great one that works well if you're able to break your room out into smaller groups, where each person in the small group provides 2 truths and a lie. They get to know each other within that group and then share overall with the ones that were funny. It's a great getting to know each other type of icebreaker. Here are some warning signs to keep in mind of with icebreakers specifically. How many students you have in your class. This is going to directly correlate to the length of time. What is the class length? In other words, do you have more time because it's a 5-day class versus a 1-day class? And then always steer clear of anything that could go awry or come across as offensive. Thank you for watching this video. Here's to a great start for your next class.